your day been?
Good. I've been running around. I kind of had a half day. I only have so many students. I added Tuesday, so I only have students in the afternoon, and I'm trying to do a group ukulele session in the
Nice.
mornings, and I don't know if that's going to pan out. So it's just kind of very interesting. All right. So can we do just a really quick recap?
Sure.
On what we were just chit-chatting about. As usual, I just want to go through the basic theory on some of these, so we're also using the same vocabulary, and it helps with when we start talking about modes. So, the mode that we talk about first is a C major, C Ionian. I set this off as having a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Really quick question. Do you know why the 7th is also written as a lowercase, as a minor tonality?
No, I don't. And isn't that supposed to be a capital 3 since it's a major?
Well, here's the idea. When we're talking about the 7 diatonic notes that are inside of an 8-note scale, being do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, 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 it's the same, so I don't draw it. However, when we go through here, the 3 itself inside of here, the chord that is derived by looking at just the triad in the scale is a minor chord. Because the third, the middle note, when you play the G in a key of C, should have been E, G sharp A for an E major. And if you have an E, G, B, that is a minor tonality. Because our major would have had E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, and D, because E major has 4 sharps. Therefore, when you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, get rid of your 2 and 4, you're left with 1, 3, 5. E, G sharp, B is how it is spelled a major. So where we're at is I want to see that when we play C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C again, that we understand that the 1 means that the notes that are contained within the spelling or the key signature are representative of their function in the chord. C, E, G is a 1, 3, 5, which makes a C major. Dig it?
Yep.
So no matter where we play, it's going to be that same C, E, G. The function of having a inversion, first inversion or a second inversion, is inconsequential to the concept of it being a C major.
Mm-hmm.
As you said with 7th chords, the only difference between a C, E, G is when you add the 7th, this 7th makes this chord a C major 7, because we know that the 7th is naturally the major 7th. And then if we were to make it a B flat, which resides in between, it's also the A sharp, but enharmonically speaking, in the key of C, I call it a B flat because I already have an A.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just getting rid of the idea of a major, going to a minor 7th. That minor 7th now is representative of what we would just call a C7. Some people call it the C dominant 7. I like to call it that, so you know that that B flat is the dominant note inside this whole thing. The 7th and the 5th draw tension. So all the other chords, when you play around them in a chordal progression, will be using all these notes. So in the key of C, dun, 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 every single note in that melody, part of those 7 diatonic notes. Until dun, 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 dun. Change the chord doesn't sound right for the melody. That's a mode. I don't want Mixolydian with a flat 7. I want Ionian with the natural 7. So the concept we have here is we look at finding out chord analysis through the idea of what we already possess. In the key of C, we have C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. So what other chords possess a C major, F major, and a G major? In the key of C, we have it in the 1 position. So in the key of C, F is the 1, 2, 3, and the G is the 5. In the key of F, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E. Our 4 would be the B flat. In the key of F, the G would be the 2. in the key of C, the F would be the 4. So what we do is we make comparison analysis between what chords contain what major, minor, seniority, or diminished. There are no augmented in the major scheme. We only add augmented when we go through the minor, the relative minor. We'll get to that. It's amazing. But this is a great first step to just see chordal patterns and then start recognizing like chords. The reason why this is kind of important that I never really quite understood was your brain makes associations. I really enjoy playing in the key of B flat now. B flat has C flat, D flat, and G minor, D minor, and C minor, and it's wonderful. C minor feels great there. We have a D minor, E flat major, F major, G minor, and then A diminished. And that is the same kind of like spelling that we would feel for B major, which has sharps. So B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. Those are our 7 diatonic chords. In B though, we have 5 sharps. So what we do is we do the progression of this. C major has no sharps. When we go out 5 notes, C, D, E, F, G, we add our first sharp, which is F sharp. Every key after that adds that sharp. So B, although it has 5, has to have F as the first. When we go, each one of these goes. So 5 notes from G, G, A, B, C, D. D would have 2 sharps, one of which is F sharp. F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp. The next sharp that's in the key of D is that. So when we keep going, we add sharps. And it just so happens the sharps that we add are already contained in the circle of fifths. When you look at F has a flat, it's B flat. That's the circle of fourths. And the circle of fifths goes this way. It leads us like a horse to water, and it gives us all the information. In the key of A, there are 4 sharps. One of them is F sharp, one of them is C sharp, one of them is G sharp. What is the next sharp in the key of E?
Couldn't tell you. Is it C sharp?
D sharp. Now watch the process here. Keep it going. There are 5 sharps in the key of B. We had C, which has none. G has F, D has F and C, A has F, C, and then G. And notice, when I went to A, it's the note right before it that becomes the next sharp. So in the key of E, the next sharp is D sharp. F, C, G, D, and then in the key of B, the next sharp that we'd add, 1, 2, 3, 4, adds the A. So when we add that A, it happens to be the note right in front of B. B major has 5 sharps. So how many notes are there in a diatonic scale besides the octave?
7?
7. How many sharps in the key of B?
5.
Yes. How many flats are left in the key of B flat? 2. Every note that was sharpened now is just flattened to a natural. And then the ones that were the natural now have to become flat. In the 3 states of being, it's like quantum with a little kick. It's either on or off or flat. Cool? So when we go through the process of seeing this, the end result is we become more familiar in real time with what we're trying to accomplish. So the questions that we pose are this. When playing a C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then here I'll write the C up top. Knowing that most progressions you have are going to be a da 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 1 4 5 kind of thing, da 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 da. You start to hear them. What we work on is finding them on the fretboard as octaves, P8s. We find them as fifths, P5s, and we find them as fourths to begin with. Cool?
Okay.
When we have an amalgamation of chords, what is considered a perfect fifth this way is considered a perfect fourth, the opposite direction. It helps us to locate ourselves and to understand where we're going for integral purposes. And the 3 most important intervals that we know are the 1, let's say we're in the key of C, the 1 to the 3, which is a major third, and then the 3 to the 4, which is a minor The construction of a chord, which you eloquently said is a 1-3-5, is quite literally a major third plus a minor third. That allows us to see skipping the D, skipping the F. So when we're on an instrument playing the 3rd fret, the 5th fret, and the 7th fret, those frettings become super familiar to us. And then one of the scales that's derived, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, quite literally is 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 4th fret, 5th fret. This is the 3rd scale that I discussed in the video that started with the 1 finger, the pointer finger. The least used one in rock and roll is the open phrasing, and is more or less reserved for like Renaissance music, classical open string music, and believe it or not, bluegrass, folk, and country, because you get those little cool slides and stuff and finger-ons. So, from this point, the reason why we teach this in the beginning is to talk about our modal structures. So what we did was we learned Ionian. In Ionian, I'm not digging on green at all. Sorry. We had our open phrasings over here, right? So we had our C major. Do you remember what the frettings are for here? 1st fret, 5th fret, 4th fret, and then E, G. Sure. Cool. So our C is right here. We used our open D, C right here, our open D, E, here's our half step exchange, open G, whole step to A, we're gonna use an open B, and then we have our C. Here's our other half step. Can we explore that? I just would like to watch it. Cool. In individual notation, 3rd finger pluck out, and then open D. Half step move, wonderful. G. 2nd finger down to the A, beautiful. Open on the B. Cool. So the feeling behind there, can you play 8th notes on each one of those? Go back to the beginning on the root. C, C. Oh, you can do 4. That's good. Double 8s. Wonderful. You're not moving your fingers. That's what I'm looking for. Great job. So the second, this is the 1st scale. The secondary scale is what I use pretty much 50% of the time, because this is the one that feels comfortable for just chords, like bar chords. The 3rd one that we started kind of with, that spreads out, helps you to feel the whole fretboard as a harmonic unit for progression. You start seeing where the notes are on a vertical line, and then also on a horizontal level. This is what's teaching the horizontal, and then the individual notation that we look for to find out where an F sharp is, right here on the 4th, or up here on the 7th fret of the B string. When we do this, or 6th, when we do this, it kind of lets us adjust to where these are. So our secondary one, I'm going to just draw them out, a little more frettings. And then the simple explanation for this is this. What does this one have that this one doesn't have? Open note phrasings, open notes, open notation. Notenkoffen. Whenever we have these words coming through here, like the C, they're still the same, but now we're not playing the D open. We're playing the D at the 5th fret on the A, same string. Okay. So with our pick, we can see how doing this one kind of with an upstroke makes more sense, because then you could then play your downstroke and downstroke, or alt-alt. C, D, E, F should have an up, down, feel, groovy, but you also practice it the other way, down, up, in alternate. For here, it becomes a little different because our E is right here, and our half step still remains the same, but now we're on a different finger. And we'll notice this when we're doing C, open D, E, F is our half step, and then when we do it again, our half step is now 1st finger, 2nd finger. I like to say this phrase, the meat and potatoes of our scales and modes are the half steps. Cool. So knowing that, when we get into like Lohengrin, or it's just something really weird that has multiple half steps together, that's why we use that. Going on, G, Right above A, we're gonna have a whole step to B and then a C. Do you see how now we have a different fingering for where our half step is there? At one point, yeah, because it was open and then just a hammer on. See why bluegrass? It just makes sense. This, not so much. It's more of a, you use this as a crutch to go, oh, I'm going on, I'm going past this. I'm using these notes, but I'm going way past them. That's what I use this for. So I know it's not what we're looking for, but rock and roll, Allman Brothers, stuff like that, they'll start off playing chords down here, they'll do a little movement, and then they'll end up here doing some highlights. Diddly, diddly, diddly. That's how you get there. It would feel weird to go from here all the way to there without using a passing scale. Cool. And then by far my favorite. And C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. That's weird. Do we see that? Our natural occurring half step now is not found here. So the reason why this one helps us to get to this is because you can use this scale, C, D, E, and then you could have that E note either here or here. If you're playing a chord or a structure, and for the last 2 months you practice do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, a 6-note phrasing, you can play that 6-note phrasing here, 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 here. But if your melody consists of, now here's where it gets to the next level of intermediate to advanced. If the chord analysis shows you that the note you're choosing for your melody does not fit into the key signature, you then, as the musician, have the option to break the given rule to be special, or to try and make it adhere to the ear that you want to hear. So practicing these in partitions makes sense, okay? So I don't want to go on a tangent, but I want to tell you what you would be looking at when you're doing just pentatonics. So pentatonics are fairly simple. When doing that, rather than just doing one note to another, and going on the outsides of that exoskeleton, if you will, we switch up those numbers. We wouldn't go from 1 to the 4 in a minor, or the 1 to the minor, flat 3, and then the 4 and the 5. We'd be like 1, 5, 4, 3, 6, 5, 4, 1, 6. So the notes kind of feel like they're jumping around, but those become really cool patterns. Cool? And from what we discussed, I think that's where you're wanting to go. Having a little bit more understanding of the fretboard and then getting outside of your bubble and being able to experience the fretboard and have an inkling of what you're doing rather than it just being random. And what we're trying to do is process the idea of what to practice rather than just sit down and knock them out. So can you play one of these, each one of these for me so I could watch them? We did the first one. You can play the second one. Secondary finger, the middle finger starting on the A string at the 3rd fret. Wonderful. Can you do 4 notes per, can you cut it down to like a... Cool, that's a 7-note phrasing. Can you show me a 6-note phrasing? Just omit the top note. Start over. Start over. Now a 5-note phrasing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Start over. 4-note phrasing. Believe it or not, 2-note. Pause. C, 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 D, 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 C, 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 D, 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 D. When you're doing the 7-note phrasing, if your brain can go A, G, 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 F, 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 D, no? You will be saying them while you're doing it, whether you're doing 1 note or 1,000 notes. Your brain will remember it. So if you are doing 16-note movements in arpeggiated form, you will know the A, F sharp, G, C. That's what happens as a result of playing scales and naming the notes as you go at 40 beats per minute, at 60 to 80, and then at 120. If you could play anything we're doing here without having any like fret buzzing, fingers flopping, not knowing where they're going, buzz out strings, not hitting the strings, if you could play at 120 any of these scales through all of them, Ionian, that's when you move on to the next mode. So once you got all 12 notes all the way up the fretboard using the same scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. And the reason why we do that, this is in correlation with this. So the fretboard knowledge and the mastery, quite literally, comes from doing the practice routines, which when you're playing will be the things that just naturally come out. And then at that point, we find out really what needs attention, whether it's the finger, and I can already tell you what finger it is. It's gonna be this one. It's gonna need the most attention. And then once we figure out how to move between these flawlessly, that's when our modal journey really starts. So just because I want to show that through the eyes of one of these scales, pick one of these, and then we're going to try just 2 modes from there. So you can pick a 4 or 3 note progression in any key, and then play those modes over the top of them to hear the difference. We're not going to get really, I know that you can handle this. We could take something like Norwegian Wood, and we could play it in its original key, E major to a D. That's a mixolydian, because E would have a D sharp. And I know this is over the head, but the idea is that note in any other key would be a half step lower. It doesn't sound the same. When we play the same progression we've been playing over and over and over and over, da 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 da, and you do a different mode, you hear it. The idea is I want you to play raw notes. I want you to play anything your fingers feel, but keep them within the concept of minor seconds flow. We only do 1 finger extension to the 5th fret or open. When we're doing 5th fret to 8th fret, we go to the 4th fret of the 5th fret, or we do the 8th fret to the 9th fret. Then we move on to the next quadrant. There are 3 quadrants, and each one of these have their own way to play the scales. So pick one of these, and then we're going to go from there. Great. Are you overwhelmed? Am I talking too fast?
A little bit.
Okay,
that's all right.
I'll go slower. Well, that's what I saw. Okay, cool. Cool. Right off the bat, just go a little slower. Cool. And let's call them out as their intervals. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Now let's call them out as their seniority. Major 1, minor 2nd, minor 3rd, major 4th, major 5th, minor 6th, diminished 7th, major 1st. Wonderful. And I know that you're internally saying the same thing I am. The idea is I want you to become super, super, super familiar with this, because this is the foundation for chordal progression. And to answer your question, my question, when we play this in any different key, it gives us our intervals. So C major or D major, just name a letter out of the 7 we have.
Let's go with E.
Cool. E has 4 sharps. When we do it, we've got the sharp that was in G, we have the sharp that became in C, sorry, D. We have the sharp that was in A, and then we add our last sharp for E. So when we say E, we have E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, and then D sharp. Major, major, major. All these, 1, 4, 5, always major, major key. Minor notes, 1, the 2, the 3, and the 6. The most important one of this is the 6. All the notes in C sharp minor are also all the notes in E major. What does that mean?
I don't know.
The spelling that you see before you contains 7 notes, 4 of which have sharps. The spelling of C sharp also has 4 sharps. And here's 2 different keys to explain why. Ready? I hope that this fits and it works. Ready? When we play in the key of C major, we have C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. I'm going to write the eighth in there because it does make sense in this. Minor, 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 major, 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 diminish, just like we just showed. When we play a C, we say that a major has no sharps and flats. That is the spelling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. The spelling of a minor is a 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. When flattening a note, we would need to flat the third, we would need to flat the 6, and we would need to flat the 7. Can you do me a favor? Can you say that out loud?
What do you want me to say?
Minors flatten the third, 6th, and 7th.
Minors aren't the second.
We for a minor chord in a major tonality, we flatten the third,
Third.
we flatten the 6th,
Flatten
and
the
the
sixth
7th.
and the seventh.
So through the eyes of A major, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and then A again. When we say A major has 3 sharps, its relative minor is F sharp, which means all the notes inside F sharp minor are all the notes inside A major. But let's forget about that. When I take A major and I get rid of that, it makes the major third into a minor triad. So that accomplishes what we already know. The F sharp now goes to a flat 6, and the G goes to a flat 7. So minor 7th, minor 6th, minor 3rd. How many sharps and flats are in the key of A minor? None. How many sharps and flats are in the key of C major? That's why 2 keys have the same key signature. And you could always tell it because it's the 6th. In the key of G, G, A, B, C, D, E. E has 1 sharp, it's F sharp. G has 1 sharp, it's F sharp. Cool? The only difference, and this is the hardest part, and I do apologize, this is just the hardest part. Minor 1. Diminished 2nd. Major 3rd. Through the eyes of C sharp minor, we just follow the same thing we have. The next one's going to be a minor, but it's not the minor 2nd, it's the minor. That's the 6th, right? Minor 4th. Does that make sense? And it has the same spelling. So when we go to our next one, which should have been a G sharp minor, the minor 3rd, it's not the minor 3rd, but it is the minor 5th. But it's still a G sharp. When we go to the A, now it's where it gets kind of interesting and funky. Still stays A and B, but now these aren't those, they're the majors. It kind of turns the whole world upside down. And if you look at it just from the 3rd, sure, E major, F sharp minor, G minor, A major, B major, C sharp minor, D sharp diminished, E. It's still a major scale from the 3rd, but not from there. Get it out of your brain. That's right. You would go up from your 6th scale. So no matter what key we're in, we can see how the modes are derivatives of this. So what happens, just really funny, because this is kind of what we're talking about, when we play our E major scale, and then we alter the notes of our E major scale from having an E, F sharp at the 2nd, G sharp at 4th, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and then E. Playing with the open notes gives you the 3rd scale that we talked about. You see it? If I was at the 3rd fret playing C, D, E, E, F, G. See how the scale that you use in open tonality is actually the same as the 3rd one out of the 3 scales? Which is why we get good at using all these, because this 3rd scale actually is a lot like that 1st open scale, but not for E, only for C and E and A and D and G, because they're the chords that are open. You don't have a C sharp open scale there, so you don't have to worry ever about that scale. Modes. When we were doing this, and I'm just going to call it out, you hit one note that was incorrect. However, knowing that note is the wrong note is great because it's a raised fourth. In the key of E, what would a raised fourth be? Absolutely. That's Lydian. E Lydian. So when we change C sharp minor and we put an A sharp in here, it alters what we're seeing. C sharp is called Aeolian. It is the harmonic natural minor. It has a flat 3, flat 6, and flat 7. When talking about modes, it is found naturally in a C major mode. And this is what we're going to kind of end on, and I want you to see it and play it. Ready? Play me a C major scale in the secondary fingering group. That would give us a C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Do we need the lines? Not a big difference, but it's the world of difference because of what it does to all the other chords. When you don't play your phrasings, how we did 6-note phrasings, 5-note phrasing, 4-note phrasing, 3 notes, you will find this week when you're playing just a random chord progression that the chord that this best fits and suits over is going to be a major chord. But more importantly, if we're playing a progression like C major, which has the notes of C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C, when we go to G major, like a 1-4-5 progression, or how about this? 1, 5, 4, 5 is a 1, 5, 4, 5 progression. The chords of C would be that. The 5 notes would have G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and then G. Notice right away that there is no F sharp in the key of C. So whence sharpening F sharp to C, C Ionian becomes C Lydian, which is the same as G Ionian. You now have a parallel between two chords which are exactly the same. At a certain point, your brain will stop thinking of modally, and you will just think of chordally. I'm in a progression. If our other chord was what? We had C, G, and F. Well, the key of F has F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, and then F. So I don't see an F sharp in here. So I probably would not play the F sharp. What does that mean? We don't have F sharp or C Lydian now. We just have C Ionian. When I flatten this 7th, it becomes G Mixolydian because the flat 7th is representative of having tension between the B flat, or I'm sorry, the F natural to the G. Rather than being T-do with a quick half step fall, it's Ta-do. It's still a resolve, but it's a whole step rather than a half. Therefore, that note is actually pulling way more towards the dominance of the chords. So here's the grand takeaway. The scales that you will play this week for your practice will be over a progression. What I want you to do is pick the three chord progression, which utilizes one of the chords twice, unless you would like to write a 4-chord progression. You know, jazz is like 2-5-1. Rock and roll is like 1-4-5-4. We were trying to do like a Spanish Portuguese kind of thing, like a.
So what you're basically saying is, can you pick up your guitar?
Yes. Ooh.
Just do a A minor. Just do that for me.
Cool. Just the walk down.
Yeah.
Can I play bass notes?
Yes.
Cool. 1, 2, ready, go.
Go for it. You just want me to do scales over that?
Mm-hmm. And this is a little bit moving. How about if we had like
Yep, just keep doing that.
What we're just doing is called an Andaluvian cadence. It
Okay.
basically
Yes,
there's
I'm
no
aware of that one.
oh yes, there's no reason to know that terminology either. The concept behind that is very prominent in the music that I assume that you're digging on. Let's pick 2 chords.
Okay.
Let's pick, since we were doing this and we are playing through the chord progression of, like, that would be an A minor. A minor is C major. So what I would like to do is just do this. When we play an A minor, we can also at the same time think C major. So when we have these notes correlating, I would like to play an A minor progression, A minor, and you think C major. I'm going to play an A minor to a G back and forth, which, when you're doing this, you can see your G major, right? I, however, want you to be playing in what?
You
If
probably
A-
want a bar chord, huh?
It doesn't so much have to be bar, you can even play the lower, but I want to see what it feels like to have the notes. And what it does is, you will work out the 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7. Because if you don't play this chord, which I want you to do right here, what is the relative minor of G? What's 6 notes out, including G? G, A, B, C, D.
I don't know my ABCs.
It's
man.
okay. E. E minor. Shoot. So we know it as being something like that. The idea is, if you play your minor movement, you already saw what the E major looked like. It had this, right? E goes to the F sharp, and then it goes to the G sharp. Well, our third here that's on the 4th fret isn't there. So in an E minor, we have an open E, we have an F sharp, and then we have a G. That's our flat 3. We have an A, B, and then we have a flat 6. Does this make sense? No. Okay, cool. I'm going to play A minor and G, and when I'm playing A minor, you're going to solo over a C major.
Okay.
And when I'm playing a G major, you're going to solo over an E minor. And the reason being is all the notes that you will play in one are already naturally located. So if you were to play that first scale position, C, open D, E, F, open G, A, B, C, when I'm playing A minor, it's the same as playing C major. I'm just moving my bass note to an A, which makes the C major with an A note an A minor. Because the C is already covered in the bar. So you were correct about the bar chord. If you were to play the G major, the E minor is naturally already found inside of there as a minor chord. So the concept is, when I'm playing the A minor, if you're playing C major, it works. So here's the rhythm that I would play. Let's define it. Where are we? 7?
I was doing the C major.
Second. Cool. 1, 2, ready, go. G major. You do E minor.
No.
Totally cool. Open E. Second finger, second fret for the F sharp. And then rather than going to the G sharp, we're going to use our third finger and play the G. That's our flat 3. 1, 2, flat 3. Open A. B. Flat 6. And then flat 7 is the open D now. Rather than having to play that pesky D sharp and then our resolution goes to the E. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. That is natural minor. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1.
So why are we switching keys in between these two chords?
Wonderful. We are not. And the reason being is the 1 is the 6th. In the key of C, all the notes that are inside of the key of C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, are also the same notes inside of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. A minor is C major. Cool? So this week, what I would like you to do you have an ability to record yourself and play over the top? Wonderful. If not, they have backing tracks, which are super simple. Find one you dig, or write something you dig, and then see how you can play a C major scale over an A minor, and then an E minor over a G. And if you don't want to pick those chords, pick the relative minor. So if you're comfortable playing like in an A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp minor. all the notes that are allowed within this chord are also all the notes that are inside of A major. Cool? So what we do is we grasp what that looks like, and then we manipulate it to get molds.
Okay.
And the hard part is you've got to get the fingering down of each 3 scales, and then move into the progression where your brain goes, I absolutely know that when I move my 3rd finger forward, I get an F sharp. So when you go through the process of saying 1, 2, 3, and then sharp 4, your brain recognizes you are no longer using the 1 finger you did use. And when we introduce that back into scales, if we were doing a movement like, let's say, take the A train, C6, 1, 3, 6. Let's see if I play. We can do 7th chords too, but when we use this, we would have. You can use that 1 minor second, and it fits perfectly in there. And we get really used to doing little functional notes together. And then, I've had a couple students that will last 2 years with me. What my goal at that point is to not let you get stagnant. So it's always moving, and it's always flowing, you're always creating. Cool?
Sounds good.
Do you have any questions about the construction of the major chords in the 3 positions?
I didn't pick up anything. I'm sorry.
10%. You might not think it, but when you get through. How about this? Can you tell me what key C major's relative minor is?
It's probably the 5th one. That's my guess.
Very close. So I think just from that question, you're doing a great job. What you want to do this week is you want to play those 3 scale patterns that we worked on, for sure. And then with a piece of paper in your notepad, I want you to write down this. And I never do this for anybody else. I'm going to do it for you because I think you learn the exact same way I do. I want you to write down C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat. C natural, D natural, E natural, F natural, G natural, A natural, B natural, C natural. C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp. These are all the different ways that you can play C. It's a tonality of a flat note and a sharp note, but they center around knowing that that's the natural note. Out of 7 notes that are inside of here, your takeaway from all of this is that there is a major, and a major. The construction of the chord when you play it will look exactly the same on the fretboard. We kind of discussed that with the D, seeing how that went from the D, then it had the D minor shape, D minor shape, D shape, D shape, D minor shape, then the weird diminished shape. These are mobile. So the takeaway is the 6th of every chord is a relative minor. So if you were to take this note and move it anywhere, let's pick a random note. How about A? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. The reason why we don't really use an A flat is because A has 3 sharps. When we go and we play A sharp and A flat's easy to do because we know that when we take a sharp and we flatten it becomes natural, but all the ones that were natural have to now be flattened. So we would have all these notes flattened, cool, and then that's a natural, that's a natural. So it's easy to see that when you have 3 sharps in a key and then you need to flatten it to go from la 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 down a half step, la 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 la. We flatten just in tonality, not in actual name. And we don't even change the seniority. A major, B minor, C sharp minor. A flat major, B flat major, C minor. It still stays with that. So the 2 takeaways from today, make sure you know the 1 and the 6th of every chord have the same spelling. What is the spelling? Oh, it's a key signature. And the way we know that is we practice going F, G, A, B flat, C, D. D minor has all the same notes as F major. And when we play the chord, they will look eerily close to each other. All the notes are all the same. So what happens when we go to A sharp? Well, let's do this. A sharp, B sharp. Already had a sharp. So now it's C double sharp. D sharp. E sharp. We already had an F sharp, so now we have an F double sharp. And we already had a G sharp, so now we have a G double sharp. The reason why we play in the key of G flat, no, wait, is that right? E flat, G. No. The reason why we play in the key of B flat rather than the key of A sharp is I would much rather say B flat has B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, than have to say A sharp, B sharp, C double sharp. You see how ridiculous that is? So what this is called is a hypothetical chord. It's not real. We don't use it. We use these in lieu. We don't use G sharp because G sharp has one sharp. So when we would play G sharp, we would have G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F double sharp. And double sharps suck. So we don't play them. That is the overabundant amount of why this is. But when you sit down and you do that for all the notation, you realize that there aren't certain keys. Like there is no D sharp, we use E flat. Cool? That's a biggie that finally it started to make more sense here. Do I call E natural and F flat sometimes? Yes, I absolutely do. But only in very rare cases. There's only so many instruments that are actually tuned to like F sharp or like harp, C sharp. I will never talk in C sharp or something. This, a little overwhelming, but I think it did a good job explaining why we don't use double sharps and why we use flat keys in lieu of. The idea is, yes, it might be weird, but I would much rather read the key of D flat than C sharp. There's 5 flats in D flat, there's 7 sharps in C sharp. Easy. 6 F. But most importantly, what's the takeaway? The 1 and the 6 are the relative major and the relative minor. And the reason why we're doing this is playing a scale that has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is wonderful when you know how to play a major scale. If you're not too keen on playing the 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, you can just stay with all your majors. What I'm trying to get you to is be proficient playing the 2 scales. So when we talk about modes, you'll realize that just because you drop 2 notes from the beginning of the scale and then you added them later, it alters. La 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 la. La 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 la. That is a mode. Moving a note, adding it later. That is how we construct modes. So if you know 1 and 6 are the same, the starting point for us, for modals, and being able to influence them over chords, is to pick a progression. Let's say we did jazz. We have a 2, 5, and then we've got a 1. Our 2, 5, 1 is going to feel like da, na, 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 na. If we're playing in the key of C, C would be 1, G would be 5, and then D minor would be the 2. If D minor has a relative minor, you can play D minor as a natural minor, which is also called Aeolian, and it's a 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, and a flat 7. Or you can play in its relative major, F major, and that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which you would have already learned the 3 major scales from it, and your fingers are actually just associating with just the feeling of the context. The next step is when we talk about the modes, like Lydian having a sharp 4 in the key of F. The 4th is the B flat. It is the signature note in the key of F. How many sharps and flats are in the key of D minor? Just 1. The same note, B flat. So when you say D minor, it's D minor, E diminished, F major. G minor, A minor, B flat major, C major. It's that thing where we start at the 6th, but we call it the 1. It will make more sense, but when we play over these, we could also play over the G as an E minor. G has one sharp, it's F sharp, so E minor has one sharp too. The idea is you don't have to play any minors if you play the major, and you just don't attack your phrasings with the tonic. Does that make sense? That's a heavy statement. You can play minor chords all day long and play major scales over the top of it, as long as the feeling that the first note that you attack to go, here's who I am, isn't the one. Just as long as it's not the one, or else it will feel major. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay, when it does, I will get the goosebumps with you then. The takeaway from this week, pick a chord progression that you like from any song you have. I would keep it under 120 beats because playing solos up the top, that becomes pedantic. There's no point to play scales fast at this point. And I would like you to review the idea of Ionian and then Aeolian. Can you tell me what the spelling is for a major?
No.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1. Or 8. Spelling for a minor, we said it, you flatten 3 of these. Do you remember which intervals we flattened? Cool. We've got a flat 3, natural 4, natural 5, flat 6, and a flat 7. What this does, it alters the chord so the tonality becomes mysterious dark. This is your focus for this week. The purpose of this is so you can see that when you're playing in the key of F major, its relative minor is D minor. That sucker is 6 notes from you. F, G, A, B, C, D. These two, super special to each other. The spelling is contained right here. So when we say F, G, A, B flat, C, D, and then E, those are the same exact things we play down here. D minor, E diminishes now the second, F is the major third, G is the minor fourth, we have A minor is the minor fifth, B flat major is the major sixth, and then C is the major seventh. And the reason I do believe this is just like, woo, it's up. Tiny bits, very small. 3 scale positions, one starts with your third finger, one starts with your second finger, and one starts with your first. The more you play them, you will realize that some of them look exactly like the other ones, which is great. The idea is when we learn a scale here on the fretboard, and then here, and here, they all kind of start just mushing together. And the idea is to throw away the boundaries of thinking that you're between the 1 and the 5 fret and explore the rest of the fretboard without knowing that an F sharp's right here, but using a shape to eventually see it there. Cool? I would say in the explanation it is a little cart before the horse, the way that I teach. But you already came in with the working knowledge of your instrument and what you like. So this hopefully tweaks that a little bit. Takeaway, practice those 3 scale types, find a progression or make a progression under 120 beats, probably 80 beats. And then when you hear a major tonality, try to use its minor relative. Okay. So if I was playing a progression that was what you suggested, A minor, G major, F major, E major, I would have the A minor. So I'd have to go, oh geez, what is A minor's relative major? Since I'm on a minor, I would just go up 3. A, B, C. Cool. C major over the top of A minor. When we go to the G major, what's 6 notes away from G? G, A, B, C, D, E. E minor would be played over the top of G major. And since you already know the construct, since you already know the construct of the basic minor, can you play me an A minor pentatonic?
I think, yeah, this one?
Yeah. Wonderful. Do that, but start it from the open note. So open 3, low E, open 3, low G, and then use your third finger, and then open, second finger on the B, open.
Oh, that's what you're doing.
Cool. That's your E minor pentatonic. Beautiful. That's what you play over G minor. All right, here we go. G major. Sorry. You dig. Does that make sense?
I can do that.
Okay.
Yes.
And there either will be an obvious, okay, or they'll be like, whatever. Just keep going. We'll pull through the strings. We're not talking about using, we're not talking over the top here. Over the top would be like, we're playing a 4-chord progression, and right before we play that 3rd chord, we're going to borrow a card from the relative minor of another key. We're not going over the top of it right now. This is the basis line, and I don't want you to feel like it's overwhelming, so we could back up off the whole theory concept of it and just rely on this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, major. There has to be a relative minor. Let's find it by just going 5 and then another note.
Okay.
So randomly, if we were going to be like C sharp has all the sharps. C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, all. So C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. All the notes in A sharp minor are all the same notes in C sharp major. And the only difference between that on your scales is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then C sharp, D sharp, E sharp. It's the same scale. That just leads us to different doorways to see this C major here. When we play that bass and we put the note out here, that kind of looks like our pentatonic. So the gateway to get from one portion to another relies on us already knowing the pentatonic. Beautiful. Seeing major Ionian, its relative minor Aeolian, becoming super cool and familiar with those, intertwining them, and then the next stop is to move off to the next train platform. Same trains going in different directions, but you don't want to get on the wrong train after getting on the wrong train to get on the wrong train, or else we're so far away from what you wanted to accomplish that none of it makes sense anyways. So being on the right train is playing through a progression this week, using the minor over the major, and if you dare, use the major over the minor.
Okay.
So if you've got a progression that incorporates both, you have the option of both. Agree with me?
Sounds good.
Wonderful. Okay. And let's see here. Do you like reggae music?
Reggae?
Yeah. I despise it. Oh, that's on film!
Don't show this to anyone.